I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time. All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Content Toolbox. I have brought back an all-time favorite guest expert, Mr. Neil Holmes. And the reason he is back today is because he is here talking about another business. Yes, he is a serial entrepreneur. So a second business that he is running, and it is so amazing, I just had to share. So welcome to the show, Neil.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. So Neil, tell us about this new business and kind of what brought you into it and how things are kind of going right now.
Okay. So if you remember, I've got a medical massage clinic, and what I've done is, with me doing all of my lead generation, I've really focused on Facebook ads and leads through there. And so I've pretty much figured that out for my own clinic. And so I was telling a friend of mine about this who's a chiropractor. And in doing so, she said, "Hey, do you think this will work for me too?" And I thought, well, why wouldn't it work? So I went ahead and set everything up the same way. And now keep in mind, this was back in May, when like the middle of COVID. Right. So I thought, how can I help her? Because if she didn't do this, her whole practice was going to close. So I said, let me just see what I can do and just try out exactly what I did in my own clinic. So in doing that, in the first 2 months, we actually got 150 new patients in that 2-month period. And like that turned everything around to the point to where now her current clinic and the one she had just opened in March, like talk about bad timing, but opened that in March at the beginning of COVID. Like that's what saved that clinic. And we've just been building on there. And so there have been other friends, and I've had other business owners and, who are in the same point, in the same position, to where I just thought everybody needs more customers, no matter who you are. And especially in local business, because too many local businesses have been closing.
Yeah.
So what we've decided to do is start a new company. And that is, the name of it is Suncoast Leads. And what we're doing, obviously, because I'm in Florida, this is trying to help out, my community just get more customers and start thriving more. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, small business savior, Neil Holmes. Pretty amazing. Love that. Second of all, okay, I just want to go back here because you kind of glossed right over some details that are pretty big, right? So Facebook ads, like you just decided to start running Facebook ads. Like, oh, I just decided to do this. Pretty awesome. Secondly, chiropractor friend opens a clinic in March of 2020. Yes, terrible timing. You start running ads in May, and you brought in 150 customers.
Yeah.
In 2 months?
New patients in 2 months are what showed up to her clinic.
Okay. So you guys, that is 150 customers, not leads. There's a big difference, right? We're talking about actual paying customers who came from these ads. Do you have any idea roughly what kind of ad spend she was into for those 150 customers?
We were doing things at $10 a day. So that was $300 ad spend.
That is insane ROI. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's incredible, you guys. Oh, wow. Okay. So now you beta tested and you checked things out. So now you've turned this into a business and you're able to consistently run leads for people. So what does that look like now? And like, what kind of price points are people looking at if they're like, I want the leads, but I don't really want to just figure out how to do Facebook ads, because not as everybody is as big a nerd as you.
So cost, right? Is that what you're wondering? Cost. So
yeah,
there's a lot that goes into trying to get testing the right things, testing the right headlines. What are the right pictures to use? Who is the ideal customer who we're looking for? And so for each business, it varies, but I like to do things a little differently where I like to do things with right now into the contractor space where we're doing this, by the lead. We're doing it per lead because obviously in their world, not everybody's wanting to put an addition on a house. But when they do, that's a big portion of their business. So when it comes down to that, what I'm charging for that, we're doing this at $100 per lead.
Oh, that's a great price.
Yeah, especially considering that could turn into a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 remodel. So
yep.
You don't need very many of those, and you really can't fulfill on a lot of those. And so you don't want to be having low cost per lead people, because what if you can't fulfill?
Right. And you don't want just a lot of tire kickers and like quote getters. You want actual customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're focusing on, is because Florida is a busy, it's always growing. Everybody wants to move here. By the way, it's 77 today.
Yeah. Well, read between the lines there. Yeah.
More people are moving here and they're wanting to update and remodel and do things. And so this is a busy market to be in. Number one, if you're the contractor, but how do you separate yourself? How do you get leads? How do you do things that are not the more traditional things like Home Advisor, Thumbtack? Those, unfortunately, it's first one in wins. And if you're the fifth person calling on that, as soon as that comes through, then your customer already has 3 quotes. So they're not going to get a fourth one. You know what I mean?
Okay, wait. So let me just clarify here. So like most contractors are going to things like Home Advisor and Thumbtack. Mm-hmm. But those leads that they're getting are not just their leads?
No, not at all.
That sucks.
If you're actually paying for the contractor side of Home Advisor, you're just part of a shared pool in a certain zip code. Meaning, if you're on the job or at another estimate or in the middle of a phone call, if a lead comes through, you're still paying for that lead, but there could be 10 other people paying for that lead as well in the same area. So it all comes down to who can call them first. And unfortunately, unless you've got the staff to do it, it's a time game.
Hopefully you're busy out doing jobs and not trying to sit there and wait for the phone to ring.
Exactly. So that's a problem when you deal with it's group lead sharing like Home Advisor, because it's a popular one and everybody knows it. For the consumer, it's great. But for the contractor, you're fighting against everybody else, and it's just the timing issue.
Okay, so I've worked with contractors in the past, and I know I know that that's where they get their leads. I hadn't ever paid a whole lot of attention, but the price point that you were talking about, like what you're talking about is the same as what they're paying to those services, but these leads are 100% theirs, not anybody else's.
Right, because what we're doing is after we figure out the customer avatar, we want to put out exactly that message for that customer. So, contractors do all, different types of services. And so specifically, you don't want to send a pool customer to somebody who does, kitchen and bath. So instead of it being just random leads coming through, I like to find out all about the business, who their customers are, what type of people they are. That's the messaging that we're putting out through Facebook in order to attract those people.
I love that, because I have been saying forever, like the thing that you have to do is be personal and telling stories. And stories can even be told through like a couple of sentences and some pictures, but you're sharing a piece of yourself, and like you're making it personal, and you're attracting the people who want to work with you. So you're just doing that exact same thing in local Facebook ads, right?
Exactly. You know, you have to think about what is it that the customer is actually going through. You know, if you know who your target person is, you know what they're thinking, you know how to, what's the right word? You can guess what they're looking for. And especially when you know all of the rest of their background. So in doing so, you're going to find, generally, you'll find those people who are looking for that, because instead of it just being a basic message out there, you're actually talking to somebody and they're thinking, how did you know that? I didn't, I hate my kitchen. Yes, I do hate my kitchen. And when things like that, because we're very specific on how we talk. That way we're getting better qualified leads versus, like you said earlier, tire kickers.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So you're really focusing, like you're taking the customer's pain points, and instead of saying like, we do roofing, get an estimate, or like we remodel kitchens, call for a quote. Like instead you're actually targeting from the pain points. Is that correct? Is that how you're finding avatars?
Right. I'll give you an example. Like for roofers, if you need a new roof, instead of just saying, call for a quote or a free estimate, it's like, why do they need a new roof? And it's always, hey, is your insurance about to cancel you because your roof is too old?
Ah.
So, I mean, that's a simple example where that's exactly the pain that they're going through. So who are they looking for? As soon as they see that messaging that talks to their pain point, you all of a sudden seem to be more qualified versus just getting a general quote or just, calling anybody in the yellow pages.
Right. That makes so much sense. I love it. Okay. So there's a couple things I want to unravel here as well. So there's, first of all, let's just talk about Facebook ads, because there's a lot of people that think they can do Facebook ads. And I know from working with like my local, like BNI group that I hired to do Facebook ads, and they weren't amazing, I'll say. So how are you not doing ads like that? And like, how do yours look and feel different?
Well, because what I'm doing is it's real life. So how many times have you seen an ad, a local ad or any ad, but it's too staged? It's photoshopped, or it's
like a stock photo.
Like a stock photo. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we've been just inundated with seeing nothing but ads. It's in between every one of our videos we watch, before, during, and after. It's every third post on your Facebook feed, or even if you're looking at stories on IG. Same thing, ads are everywhere. And so the more commercial they look, the less attention grabbing they are. So when the way that I like to construct ads are with real people. If it's a roof, if it's a kitchen, we're showing like your ugly kitchen. And like, this is the before. Like, are you sick of looking at this backsplash? And then we're talking about, the hinges are from the 80s. The doorknobs are from who knows when. But it's things like that because they're real photos and it's real people. That's what makes the difference. That's how people connect. It's because it's in real time, real people, real situations.
So when somebody signs up to work with you, you're actually getting like real photos of their real work sites and then using all that stuff.
Exactly. I want before pictures. I want them on the job. I want them holding their dog. There are so many different things because people, you got to remember that we're all still humans and we all connect to certain things. And if it's stock photos and it's too commercial, then people just gloss right over it.
Yep. So true. Because we're just used to seeing it. Like it isn't standing out. Oh, I love that. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to hit was Facebook ads versus, I'm going to make an assumption here that some of the traditional things like Home Advisor and Thumbtack, that they're using like Google search. So they're on Google ads. So why Facebook ads?
So you always want to look to wherever it is that your customers are. So where are the majority of people at? And when you look at certain age groups, for call it the 35 and up crowd, Facebook, because that's where you can share stuff with your families, and or it's pictures of kids, grandkids. Facebook is a good place for everyone to connect. And so when you're thinking about the trades world, the construction world, you're not finding many 20-year-olds who are looking for a new roof or wanting a new kitchen and bath.
That is so true. Yes.
So I like using Facebook specifically because it's where everybody's there to share photos. And this is why when you're using Facebook ads, you want your photos to look like everyone else's photos. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So on Facebook, this is where you're going to grab attention. But versus with Google, you're intentionally searching for something. So it's good if you can cover both ends of that, through the same things. On Google, you're just going to those sponsored ads on Google. If you can still catch their attention with those few lines, you're going to capture them as they're searching for it.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Another term that you mentioned here. So I know that we know this as digital entrepreneurs, but just in case anybody is listening who isn't aware, you talked about when you're developing an avatar. So can you explain an avatar and what your process looks like as you're going through that?
Sure. So like when it comes to the avatar, what I mean is like, what are the customer characteristics? Like, where do they shop? What do they eat? How old are they? Where do they hang out? All of those things matter because you're really painting a picture for who that customer looks like, because they're going to be the ones who are traditionally going to be looking for the service that you want.
Mm-hmm. So I know part of that, since you're talking about local service businesses, and like part of it came from that you wanted to really serve your local community, but I know part of that, like when we're talking about Facebook ads and you want to advertise to the world, it's a whole different thing than doing local, right? So can you explain how some of those differences work, even with the Facebook algorithm or like just with Facebook?
So what's different between the two?
Yeah.
Well, obviously as you set things up, it's difficult to national campaigns. They're so much harder in the fact that you have to try to guess what everybody's problems are that they're having that you can try to attract. Versus like if you're in a local area, you all speak the same language, you all talk about the same things. You may have all the same problems, where in Florida versus Washington, they're separate things. Contractors in general are they're everywhere, but the way you build a house, the way that you do a pool, versus doing a basement, which, there are no basements in Florida. So you can't have this. It's very different on how to talk to people, local versus national.
Yeah, true. And I think also when you're setting up ads for local Facebook people, you can very selectively target, which narrows down your range, right? So does that reduce your cost as well?
It completely reduces your cost. Actually, this is what makes local Facebook ads so valuable. It's because you can pick the zip codes, and or you can do a pin drop and do a radius around. But I like doing zip codes because there are certain areas in older neighborhoods where medium income, and this is all part of knowing characteristics and knowing your customer, where generally you're not going to have somebody in a certain zip code who's going to look to want a pool or to have new windows and doors. But that there are other zip codes where it's like, this is where I want to focus. So if you're focusing all of that ad spend right in front of your dream customer's zip code, your cost for the customer acquisition goes down a lot, because you don't have tire kickers who are able to see it because they're not in that zip code.
That is just, I love, 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 love that. I mean, just makes so much sense. And I mean, having been down the road personally of national advertising, I know how expensive it can be. I mean, we're talking, I paid personally well over $100 per customer that came through for national advertising. And my total cost was not what you would get from a kitchen or bathroom remodel. So my ROI was not as good. Okay, Neil. So we have talked a lot about kind of how this process works and how it's different than other standard practices out there. So if I am a contractor, do I have to be in Florida? A. And B, how do I find out more information about if this is going to work for my business?
Okay, so A, no, you don't have to be here. Just like I said earlier, we need to know more about your customer. Who is your customer avatar? Who's your dream client? And what are all their characteristics? So you don't have to be in Florida, number one. But number two, if you want to get more information, you go to Suncoast Leads. It's all one word, suncoastleads.com. And then right there, you can book a call and a discovery call with yours truly here with Jen.
Yep. I'm going to talk to you about all the ways that we're going to be able to help you and if this is the right fit, because we don't work with everybody.